The Broncos.
Yes.
They now have a 3-game lead over everybody in the AFC West with San Diego's loss last night. Is this division race over? Is it pretty much over right now?
I'm never going to say it's over, especially after back in 2008, this team lost a 3-game lead with 3 to play.
Well, yeah.
That being said, and they still play San Diego twice, and I could see San Diego maybe getting off the mat. Although last night's loss, I mean, that's as devastating as you can have in the regular season, given you're playing a weakened Steeler team, you're at home, you lose it on the last play like that. I don't know that they recover from that. And Kansas City, horrible loss at home to Chicago. Now, granted, Chicago is a competent team when Jay Cutler is quarterback this year. They're not great, competent, but you shouldn't lose to them at home. And now they're without Jamal Charles.
Exactly, that's the worst loss than just the game to Chicago.
So they're drowning, and I think the Raiders, they gave the Broncos their best shot when the Broncos didn't have their best at home and lost.
Okay,
is it over?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
you know how I felt. I felt they would win this division by 2 to 3 games in the end.
But
now they've got a 3-game lead. No Jamal Charles. San Diego looks as mediocre as anybody in this league.
There may not be an
and
AFC
the Raiders
division.
Are what they are,
There may not be an AFC division race that's close in the end. New England's up 2 games. Cincinnati's up 2 games. And Indianapolis, is 3-2, but they're going to run away from the rest of that group in the AFC South.
If Pittsburgh can take one from Cincinnati, then you've got a race there.
You might have a race, but they've got to continue to tread water until Ben Roethlisberger gets back. I'm not sure they can.
I'm not finished with Buffalo.
Buffalo.
They can't stay healthy though.
Buffalo all along I've thought would be that team like Rex Ryan had with the Jets. Get in as a wild card, and then because they're predicated on defense and controlling the football on offense, they're built to win in January. I mean, it would not surprise me if Buffalo has that kind of run the Jets had Rex's first 2 years, but it's going to be as a wild card.
Well, and you got to get LaShawn McCoy and Sammy Watkins back on the field, or they're not going to be in any race.
This race is over with. Kansas City's got to go to Green Bay now.
Well, no, they've already been to Green Bay. They lost.
San Diego's got to go to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go to Green Bay this weekend.
Yeah.
Chargers are finished, like I said. They got finished last night. They could beat the Broncos at home. They're not going to. They're not going to win here in the final game. Whether Brock Osweiler or Trevor Siemian or whoever it is, the race is going to be over with. Kansas City's finished. You mentioned Jamal Charles. They can't get off the mat. They can't get themselves. They can't get any traction under them. And when they lost Charles, they got a couple of guys named C.J. Anderson. Really now, kind of. They've got a couple of Jags. Just another guy now playing running back, and Alex Smith you talked about. They can't get behind and win a game. The Raiders go win 5 or 6 games.
They had their shot the last 2 weeks. Oakland did.
And the Broncos play Oakland here. They play Kansas City here. At the worst, they'll split with San Diego. There's no way any team can come back. This is not the Josh McDaniels 6-0 year. This is not when Mike Shanahan lost the last 3 games of the year, because they've got a quality defense. We know at some point the offense is going to get better. It can't continue to just continue to struggle like this. Gary Kubiak's going to figure out something at some point if it means throwing to the running backs coming out of the backfield. So this division's over, and I've seen it over. Both of you have. We've seen it over at the beginning of November, but we've never seen it over in the middle of October.
No,
but it's over in the middle of October.
All right, so
the division is over.
If we're right, and the division race is over, although you're not going out that far on that limb.
Well, I don't think you're going out on a limb.
You're being more reasonable.
I've seen there's too much that can happen for me to say. Clearly, it's over. But
all right, so
they're in the driver's seat.
All right,
clearly,
so they're in the driver's seat. Woody and I believe it's over. If you're John Elway and Gary Kubiak, are you now trying to find a way to get Brock Osweiler more meaningful snaps than maybe you were able to get him before, if this thing still was a race?
No. I have a cookie in my mouth. No. They're not blowing people out. This is not 2 years ago, when they should have been. Last year, when they should have been getting him some work. They can't get him any work now. You got to get Peyton Manning some work.
Well, maybe your threshold for having a workable lead to get him in is different now. instead of being, say, 31-3, 34-3. Maybe the threshold for getting him in and getting him a series or two is, say, 21-3 in the third quarter, perhaps.
That's what I'm talking about.
I could see
that. A little
happening.
earlier than you might have
Yes.
done it in the past.
Could see that happening.
No, what I thought on Sunday, and I said this to the different post writers, is you put him in for a couple of series in the second quarter. Not in the fourth quarter, but get him a couple of series.
But Woody, he could throw the game away in the second quarter as readily as he could in the fourth quarter.
Not any more.
If he throws a couple of pick sixes.
Not any more than Peyton Manning did. I mean, Peyton Manning threw a couple of interceptions. I think you get him some time, maybe even in the first quarter, because you guys both know when they win the toss, they're going to defer. It's the New England Patriots invention, defer. They always have the ball at the end of the first half. They're always running down. Now, whether they throw it away like they've done against the Vikings, Peyton throws it away, or they go down and kick a field goal, and they get it at the top of the third quarter, and that's a key period of time for them. You can't use Brock during that time, so put him in at the beginning of the second quarter. Then in the third quarter, you're in a game in the fourth quarter. So if you're going to play him at all against Cleveland, because it's going to be close. As bad as Cleveland is, it's going to be close.
And they've got an offense that even against this defense may be able to get some yards and get some points.
Wasn't the plan, according to Davo Andrew, is this a brother of yours? Wasn't the plan
obviously.
for Manning to have a couple of games off here and there, bring in Brock? That was never the plan of the Broncos.
No.
That was the plan of the same guy who asked whether Brock Osweiler should get some time. There's one guy in this town that's saying, "Oh, let Brock play."
He started on that in March. He's been on that for 7 months.
We're talking about D-Mac. D-Mac asked the question. He's the one who keeps saying, play Brock. No, you play him against San Diego when it doesn't mean anything. You may play him against Cincinnati, Pittsburgh.
Well, you might be fighting for home field advantage in bye weeks. So.
Yesterday, I proposed that Peyton should practice on Wednesdays because they are still so out of sync. The timing is so bad on that offense that put him back on the practice field on Wednesdays. Maybe that'll help.
It might help, but then again, you look at 2013. He had one of the best season of his career, and the second half of the season he didn't practice on Wednesdays. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that would be the solution that some people think it might be.
United,
like me.
Well, no, you're the second person to ask me that today.
Oh.
So
United 74. His Twitter handle or her. Will Peyton start all 16 games this season? I don't think he'll start the San Diego game. I think it'll be all decided as it was last year. Remember, we had the discussion before the Cincinnati game. He shouldn't play the Cincinnati game last year. If they were to go to Pittsburgh, which is their last road game.
Yeah, week 15.
And it looks like New England is going to be, I don't know the New England schedule the last two games. If it's like the Cincinnati thing last year, rest him then. Rest him that road game in bad weather at the end of the year. That's what we saw in Cincinnati.
Disagree.
Well,
If the number one seed is still at stake, I'm sticking to my guns on that Cincinnati game last year.
Well,
if the number one seed is still at stake, you got to play your best players.
It wasn't at stake.
It
we have
was.
to go back and invite.
They still had a shot. They didn't have a shot.
Mathematically, it was still at
If
stake.
New England lost, and he will
And they
say,
almost did to the New York Jets.
Did they?
No, but they almost did.
Well, gosh, and I almost won Powerball with one winning ticket 6 weeks ago. No, they didn't. New England didn't lose to Buffalo, was never going to lose to Buffalo, almost doesn't count. Close doesn't count except in what?
And hand grenades.
And drive-ins.
Drive-ins?
Being close counts in drive-ins.
Okay.
And the other thing to
Think about
support
it.
you, Woody, New England and Buffalo, that game's not close if the Patriots did have something to play for, because that was a Jimmy Garoppolo game.